Hello, hello. Welcome to ohmTown Daily. Let's get going. Hello, hello. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com. I was on the wrong page. And up there is the AI. Hopefully the visualizer is working today. Let's see.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
Hey, it's working. Yay. So, today's episode is Season 2, Episode 180 for June 29th, 2023. Cat knows, and more news. We've already got all 12 of our articles selected. Something's going on with the AI. But let's get into today's articles. I will not linger. Let's get going. Whereas I'm not going to stop. Apparently, the UPS-Teamsters say a nationwide strike is imminent, and they will stop Friday if the deadline is not met. This is over in the Mobile channel. Teamsters working for shipping giant UPS said a strike is imminent after walking away from the bargaining table on Wednesday. So this happened last night. Today, I haven't heard anything changing that situation. UPS Teamsters said in a statement late Wednesday that it had given up a 1 week notice Tuesday to act responsibly and exchange a stronger economic proposal to more than 340,000 employees of the shipping company. The Teamsters demanded that UPS deliver its last, best, and final offer to the union by Friday, June 30th. Well,
So tomorrow.
Yeah, this is kind of unsettling. If you've got anything in transit, it might not make it. At least not until the strike. Yeah, well, everybody stopped striking. So this is over at the Hill. Lauren Sforza and Tobias Burns are the authors of this article. I'm not sure what this video is going to be about, but it doesn't appear to be anything related to the actual article. We've been covering this, and another article will be addressing the other issue that we've been talking about here in ohmTown. It was interesting. I was just in somebody else's stream listening to them talk about their perspective of certain things. I don't want to throw them under the bus because it isn't somebody that I actually follow so much as I was curious, what they ended up talking about tonight in light of the Supreme Court finding and they basically were kind of poo-pooing the idea that the reason why people are in financial straits or have a string of bad luck or something like that it's really about, and I'll use the quote that they said, looking in the mirror. And I was kind of astonished by that because there's not everybody is born into a position where they have the ability to look into a mirror and go, I can completely change the dynamic. It's just not that way.
That seems like an elitist attitude, like it's just coming from a position of privilege and with no cognizance of people's circumstances.
And seemingly no compassion to the fact that context is completely different depending on where you are. And I won't get into all of the minutiae of this person, but let's just say that if there is something that hints at them coming from a troubled early start of their life, it is not evident. So at any rate, these people, right? UPS workers cannot just get up and go somewhere else and work, right? They are at their limit where they have to choose. I'm going to strike and use the leverage of an organization that is determined to facilitate a better outcome than if I could I could ever on my own, because singly I have no bargaining power against a mega corporation. Yet this other streamer is sitting there saying, no, 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 no. It's all about you. Dude, you have no clue how difficult it is to change the direction of your life when you are penned in and you lack opportunity or equity or inclusion, or you're not connected, or you're not, the stereotypical, and I have to say it that way, right? The stereotypical bucket that affords you greater opportunity simply because you exist. Well, the reason why I even get on that little soapbox here for this is 340,000 people are going to go on strike because they feel that they're not getting a good enough deal in their employment, and they could never have gotten any leverage should they have tried to go out on their own. Welcome to the show, Tull. Tull says, or you are in a Teamsters union that has great benefits after the long haul of a career. Yeah, so the UPS strike is just one little segment now. It's 340,000 people, so a large segment, but there's a shift that's taking place. And we're going to talk more about it as we go over to the other articles. But like, I myself have never been in a union. And I think that unions have a role to play where systemic abuse in an industry is taking place. Writers union, for instance. There's a person that's paying themselves $250 million a year, yet there's somebody that is forced to only make $25,000, even though it's their work that is allowing somebody to make $250 million on their backs. It's wild. So, this is just one segment of it. And I think that the power of the union is starting to show itself again. We've been here before. Businesses got super powerful again, and unions had to react again. So we have learned the worst possible lessons. And instead of everybody scaling at the same time, you have income disparity between the haves and the ones that make it possible for the haves to have. It's so disrespectful of society's dynamic, the gamut of people. I'm always astonished. But I know that a union has its place. Not every field requires a union, but when the field starts getting systemically abused by those in power, a union needs to form because nobody has any bargaining power. And that's basically the nuts and bolts of my rant. So 340,000 people, just the UPS side of things. Tull says that's where a lot of these companies really get the high man on the totem pole. We will give you really good benefits if you work for us for 20 years and even better ones after 30. I think they can take that argument back to the building blocks. Few of us would be anywhere near where we are without a teacher or a coach or primary school teaching us the basics or mentoring us or believing in us. But they are the ones with the lowest pay professional and career sectors. Yeah. Yep. Although I've had people say to me, because I say that too, Tull, we're on the same page about that. And when I've said that to people, they say, well, it isn't you that's doing the work. And I have to respond with, you wouldn't know what you know if it weren't for educators telling you what you don't know. You'd be off on some blind path, trying to figure out something going on. But the phrase, we stand on the shoulders of giants, those giants are all of the people that have taught and learned and then taught again. And that is really where we should be focusing a whole lot of finances so that we make all of the citizenry who goes through academia smarter, stronger, holistic, more capable as a citizen, and not being treated as just cattle.
Yeah, our priorities are all wrong. I mean, we don't incentivize that. It's really astounding.
Yeah. So, hey, let me throw this article over into the chat. And you can follow that if you are also motivated. Let's go on to the next article. And I think the AI is having a bit of an issue, so they'll be back once their service restarts. That said, the next article is over on the Mobile channel, and scientists glimpse background hum of Spacetime in major breakthrough. This is pretty interesting, but even with this, we have been here before. A few years ago, actually, probably now about 15 years ago, scientists had been listening for the background hum of space-time, and they found waves and they found evidence thereof. They went to somebody's door and congratulated them, and I think something was discovered later on that invalidated the information. I'd have to go back and look at my information again, but this one says, in a major breakthrough, scientists have discovered the first hints of an entirely new class of gravitational waves from the early universe using a detector that measures the clockwork pulses of dead stars across the galaxy. This evidence of an elusive quote-unquote hum in the fabric of space-time will likely offer the first direct glimpse of supermassive black holes in the early universe, more than 10 billion light years from Earth, marking a new era of gravitational wave astronomy. I'm always astonished when I hear this stuff. It is like somebody wakes up one day after, I don't know, taking too many vitamin B12 supplements or something. I just don't, it's so big brain that I'm always astonished when somebody comes to the table with one of these discoveries.
I know, I'm like, I had the day today. That was my achievement.
I got out of bed actually late and then rushed around all day trying to catch up for the extra hour and a half that I lounged around post 5 o'clock. Well, anyway, Becky Ferreira over at Vice.com put this article together. Quote, this is the deck statement. We can learn things that we wouldn't be able to even know were there before in ways that we could never probe before, said one scientist. I don't know who that one scientist is, but man, they get around because all of the articles say one scientist. Is that their first name? One? I guess they were named really well. Last name scientist.
Yes. They might be the most prolific published researcher.
So you said this is back at the other article about the unions. So you live a pretty dynamic life, you would say, huh? Because you're talking about unions and not necessarily believing in them, and don't plan on being in the same job long enough. Yeah. I mean, if you're working contract to contract kind of existence, then yeah, I can imagine. Because a union will pin you in, I suppose. I don't know how that would work if you're a freelancer, independent business owner. I have not. I'll have to look into that. I don't know how the union works in relation to that.
Well, the union probably wouldn't find that location worth its while if it's not a large enough organization.
Yeah, exactly. So Toll says they discovered a low hum that is a really long dead collapsed star, and they took all day to change 8 tractor tires, who really accomplished something. Yeah. And then said you should check out their sister 2 scientist. So this evidence of an elusive hum in the fabric of spacetime will likely offer the first direct glimpse of supermassive black holes in the early universe, more than 10 billion light years from Earth, marking a new era in gravitational wave astronomy. They used a device called the International Pulsar Timing Array Consortium. That's an organization, actually, which snagged the milestone results. Believe that the preliminary observations are now solid enough to share with the world as unprecedented evidence that we have tuned into a gravitational wave background that has never been explored, according to a study published in Wednesday in the Astrophysical Journal Letters. Quote, this will be the first direct detection of the supermassive black holes in the early universe, if confirmed, said Robert Ferdman, who is an astrophysicist at the University of East Anglia and a co-author of the study, in a call with Motherboard, which is the organization little sub-segment of Vice. It's Motherboard Tech by Vice under vice.com.
They're going for concise.
Yeah. Maybe, I suppose it's a channel, kind of like ohmTown has channels. The Nanograv, which is part of the IPTA, will announce more details about the results in a live stream scheduled for 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. We're well past that, so this is a link to the actual video Nanograv 15-year results. So this thing has been somebody's career for the last 15 years, I suppose, or a whole bunch of people are reading other people in over time. Pretty fascinating stuff. LIGO or LIGO, I can't remember what it's how it's pronounced, but the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory is one of the tools that has been used. Other detectors like Virgo in Italy have since snagged dozens of gravitational waves made by exotic objects like black holes and neutron stars that cannot be accessed by traditional light-based astronomy. Existing detectors like LIGO are attuned to high-frequency waves created by individual catastrophic events involving stellar mass objects, which are typically... There's a joke there about like me falling downstairs and them detecting it because I'm a stellar mass object and it's a catastrophic event. Anyway, which are typically no larger than a few dozen times the mass of the sun. Again, there's a joke about the neighborhood kids. I don't know who the comedian is that said that, but there's a comedian that said that kids throw apples at him and they fall into orbit around him. I've said too much. Let's go on. So I soapboxed for the beginning of the show for a while, and I'll make it up to y'all with some of these articles. So this one is pretty niche, so if you're not impacted by it, then I don't know, maybe fast forward a couple of minutes in the VOD or in the podcast. So 16 states, DC, Washington, D.C., currently under poor air quality alerts, and here's when things will change. I was curious about what was going on with the impact on the weather and the conditions out for this weekend, and because I wanted to be able to go outside this weekend. Well, if you are immunocompromised or you have allergies or you have asthma or anything like that, which isn't necessarily, that deleterious, it's going to be exacerbated for the duration. I'm not even sure how far forward, so I wanted to get this article into today's news. Residents in more than a dozen states, they actually say 16 in the title, so I don't know why they say more than a dozen, are currently blanketed in hazy skies and poor air quality as smoke from Canadian wildfires move through the Midwest and Northeast. For many, the worsening air is expected to stick around for at least another day. This is something that I saw in other similar pictures like this, is something that I've seen in other sites about their particular cities all up and down the Northeast. And Addie Bink over at The Hill put this article together. And it basically shows downtown Pittsburgh skyline from West End Overlook in Elliott, Pennsylvania.
That looks like the apocalypse.
It looks
like a dystopian movie or something.
Yeah, like you're coming to land on a helipad or something in some cyberpunk dystopian future where you have to live underground, and you just don't realize it yet because you haven't gotten close enough to the cityscape to see that it's just a burnt out husk. I mean, it looks really, really dystopian and bad. Crazy Cat Lady says that there's a slight haze from the smoke. I'm not sure where here is, but I don't want you to dox yourself. Didn't notice it was hot as heck and was constantly in and out of the garage all day. Why doesn't Canada just put the fires out? They're so rude. If Tull said that. I love the people that are saying things like, why doesn't Canada just put the fires out? They're so rude. I don't know anybody, but I would probably look at them like somebody blew a dog whistle. Like, what? Why? Huh? You know that they don't just snap their fingers, right? No. That, you know what they should be doing? They should be getting people with like size 16 shoes, and they can just run out there and stamp the fire out, right?
There you go.
New England region. Is that nondescript enough? Yes. Interesting. So you're not seeing it as bad as this, huh? I wonder if it's being funneled in a unique way.
It is. It's coming down from what I've seen. It's coming through the Midwest, and then it's going kind of into the Mid-Atlantic area. It looks like there are some storms ahead, which might give a bit of a reprieve. But...
yeah. And that's what happened the last time when the smoke from the forest fires started descending into the United States. A storm rolled through and pulled all of the particulates out, and then, well, it coated everything on the ground. But that's okay. I'll take that over a haze that is akin to global warming. Yeah.
I was looking up some information. I mean, some of the stuff has absolutely long-term effects and can have really severe effects, like death. I mean, it's not cardiac events.
Right.
There's some pretty severe things that can happen, but the particles can stay with you for. They can have a very long-term effect, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, it's not as bad, perhaps, but you could probably parallel it to smoking. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, Tull says was driving back from a tow job and thought they were driving into a rainstorm. Nope, just smoke. And Crazy Cat Lady said that last time it was bad, and you could smell it. Yep, and that's how it was today. While ohmTown has perfect weather all the time and no smoke in the air or anything like that, the moment you leave the protective realm of ohmTown, you're just bombarded with the reality. And it was really bad today, but it didn't smell like a forest fire. To me, it smelled more like an electrical fire, like chemicals and something funky in the air. And so, yeah, it was really bad. Tull says, perfect weather unless Mare is needs to be left alone, then it's a blizzard. Yeah, I can actually do that. Here, hold on a second. I just go like that. Stream ending. Just kidding. I'm back. I'm not going anywhere. Okay, so yeah, just be careful out there, and if you are susceptible to this kind of stuff, while a standard cloth mask won't be perfect protection from the particulates, it will assist in filtering some of them, and anything is better than just, basically, what do they call that? Huffing this kind of weather. You don't want to do that. So yeah, like I agree, Tall. Stay inside, leave the windows closed, turn on your air conditioner, replace your filter, because the last time this happened, your filter was clogged by all of that smoke getting pulled in and filtered. So your filter and your air conditioner is probably charcoal right now. Okay, let's hustle on to the next article. This next article is in the Mobile channel. First misinformation susceptibility test finds very online Gen Z and millennials are most vulnerable to fake news. I have, anecdotally, I've witnessed this. And it's mainly because people believe the information that they are fed, particularly online. And particularly on top of that, if it's being fed to them from people that they trust, like friends, relatives, etc. So, University of Cambridge psychologists have developed the first validated misinformation susceptibility test, a quick 2-minute quiz that gives a solid indication of how vulnerable a person is to being duped by the kind of fabricated news that floods online spaces. University of Cambridge is where this is sourced from by way of phys.org. University of Cambridge are the ones that put this article together. And so it says the test, proven to work through a series of experiments involving more than 8,000 participants taking place over 2 years, which is pretty amazing actually, has been deployed by polling organization YouGov to determine how susceptible Americans are to fake headlines. The first survey to use the new 20-point test called MIST by researchers and developed using an early version of ChatGPT has found that on average, adult U.S. citizens correctly classified 2/3 of headlines they were shown as either real or fake, so only 65%. And now I'm really curious about this. I'll have to go down this road because this is one of the areas that I've been very, very interested in. Toll says that they have a theory on this, and I'm really curious. Go ahead and throw it in here. So I have done research on personality profiling and doing assessments of text en masse, monitored the information that had to do with emotional contagion. I've gone through school for psychology. I've done I used to work in research for virtual reality and phobia treatment and fundamental research into using it for pain management. All kinds of things about basically a person's mindset and how you could treat them or manipulate them. And that flows all the way into business and sociology, psychology, etc. Right? So being able to be duped by a headline is something that the AI and I have been actually having a conversation about. So we'll go through this article a little bit, but Tull says Gen X and baby boomers had to rely on physical verified documents to get information like encyclopedias. Remember those? ? I do. Then those generations observed the internet come online and already had a foundation to fall back on when fake news and trendy things come up. Millennials and Gen Z and other post-millennials have no foundational knowledge prior to the internet and so haven't learned the baseline skills to research and question the information as it's being presented. Correct. So
That's an interesting theory, and it sounds like it tracks with this. Because I would have thought it would be the other way around. I'm surprised that younger generations couldn't determine this, but I didn't think of that reason for it.
But it's two different ways, and different generations are influenced in a different way. So it's harder to shift older generations away from their preconceived notions, but it's also harder to shift people into reality based on the information that's being presented to them being accepted as reality. So you really have kind of a conflict of generations and information in the information age. We were just having a conversation about the flat Earth society, people who believe in a flat Earth, and that there's just countless decades of fundamental research that shows that we are basically on a spinning ball in space, and yet there's still people that won't do the critical thinking necessary to realize that we're not a disc in space on elephants or a turtle or whatever it is. I don't know. But the information is out there, and then it's reinforced by other people of like mind. So unless you are willing to challenge your preconceived notions of whatever the results are that you are either spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, whatever, attuned to, then you won't do what Toll and many other people believe people should be doing, which is trust but verify, do the due diligence, think critically about the information, become one with your bias, and realize, am I actually believing this because I want to believe it, or am I believing this because the evidence is sound? So you can't just do research and then reinforce your own idea with research that shows it reinforcing your own idea. You have to look at evidence that challenges it, and if it is more sound than what you have, then you have to go on the information that's more sound. You got to change your perspective. But this test is showing that all I have to do is provide some misinformation, and if it's just enough, you will believe it, right? Selecting true or false against 20 headlines gives the user a set of scores and a resilience ranking that compares them to the wider US population. It takes less than 2 minutes to complete. You can actually go to it. You can follow the link right here. I don't know, when was the last time I threw an article into the chat? Scientist glimpse.
Yesterday?
Where's that delete AI button?
Oh no.
Not again. Okay, that was the last article, and then this article. Okay, so you can actually follow that link. It'll take you through ohmTown over to this one, and you can also follow this one. I'll throw that into the chat to make it easier. Apparently, researchers want the public to test themselves. You can go to yourmist.streamlit.app, and select true or false against 20 headlines. Misinformation is one of the biggest challenges facing democracies in the digital age, said Professor Sander van der Linden. Wow, that was a name that just kept going. A senior author of the MIST study and the head of Cambridge Social Decision Making Lab. Everybody has these really big titles. I want to get a really big title. I'm just going to start tacking them all together. We are now seeing online falsehoods create polarized belief systems in major nations, and the consequences, such as the attempted Capitol Hill insurrection. To understand where and how best to fight misinformation, we need a unified way of measuring susceptibility to fake news. That is what our test provides, said van der Linden, author of the new book Foolproof. So it looks like I'm going to be getting a new book.
Yeah, I'd like to read that too and take the test.
Yeah, so there you go, folks. Feel free to take that test and then come back and talk tomorrow, because we'll end up talking about this, I think. It really depends on the amount and quality of the articles tomorrow. But I think this is a really interesting study to see if we are susceptible to it, and maybe we think we aren't, yet we are after we take this test. And maybe, I mean, if you're willing to take the test, then you're willing to be introspective about your perspective of the world and your position in it.
I wonder if it gives you your results or you just take it and they just collect the data.
Yeah, I don't know. And I won't do it now, but I will be doing it between now and tomorrow's show. So check back. I'll even report my results if there are actual results. It says it gives the user a set of scores and a resilience ranking that compares them to the wider US population. So hopefully it actually displays that. It would seem a little weird that it just goes into a black box and you have no idea what your result is. Except they know your IP address and they other metadata from your browser.
The first page, you have to consent that your data, but not necessarily your identifying data, but just your data, of course, goes into the study.
Yeah, I mean, it's not doing a body cavity check, but it's definitely able to do geolocation and things like that. Not right down to you, but like my IP address that pops out onto the internet is quite a distance away, so it would take some working to find out via a web browser who exactly is doing it. And you wouldn't know ever really who's doing it, just the IP address, without forensic data. Okay, I'm going way down a rabbit hole of that. But anyway, when we needed a set of convincing but false headlines, we turned to GPT technology, so ChatGPT, OpenAI. The AI generated thousands of fake headlines in a matter of seconds. As researchers dedicated to fighting misinformation, it was eye-opening and alarming, said Dr. Raycohen Martins, MIST lead author. I love everything about this because I once built a search engine that provided information based on a personality assessment of you and then created results in a gamut, pro and con in a matrix, so that it would actively it would challenge your preconceived notions about what it is you're searching for, because search engines are popularity driven, not necessarily factual information. They'll give you what the search engine has determined the populace wants you to see. And normally the way this dynamic would work is the correct result would filter to the top because of the wisdom of masses. But you can Google bomb somebody or something, so that if you do a search for something and the Google bomb has worked, you will show up, or whatever it is you want will show up, because so many people have misaligned the result with what it is somebody wants to show as top. So it's all about manipulating the information, which can be done still. So I never really liked search results because it is primarily a money generator and popularity driven, because popularity drives revenue. Nobody sells something at a loss without it leading to something else, and nobody makes anything for nothing, right? It's either goodwill or it's reputation or it's money. There's always a motive there, always a motive. As much as people want to discount the idea that they're altruistic, there's always a motive, even if it is making yourself feel good about the good you did. So again, all of this is nothing more than manipulation and showing you how easy it is to be manipulated if you don't do due diligence, critical thinking. It's a shortcoming.
And I love this stat here about your online usage. 30% of those spending 0 to 2 recreation hours online each day got a high score, compared to just 15% of those spending 9 or more hours online.
So what's your takeaway?
Maybe if you're just on there for entertainment, maybe you're not developing these critical thinking skills.
Oh, you're breaking up.
You know, if you're just staring at something like TikTok all day.
Yeah, I think that there's some contextual issues here, because if I'm a critical thinker offline, I'm a critical thinker online. unless I completely suspend disbelief and just swallow whatever is handed to me.
Maybe it's like a chicken and egg issue because it might not be so much that the fact that you're getting entertainment online causes it, but maybe people that are drawn to that, for example, aren't across the board
Your
in the critical thinking.
your voice synthesizer is breaking up again. So the only thing that I can take away from this, it says, like what you were talking about here, it says, according to MIST, some 30% of those spending 0 to 2 recreational hours online each day got a high score, compared to just 15% of those spending 9 or more hours online. So is the goal to get, and I think I missed it, is the goal to get a higher score, right? That you're detecting.
Yes.
Yeah, you're detecting more of the fraudulent whatevers, right? Yeah. I'm curious what the scores are now. I want more fidelity, so I'm going to have to go looking it up, right? The survey also analyzed channels through which respondents receive their news. The legacy media came out top. For example, over 50% of those who got their news from Associated Press or NPR or newer outlets such as Axios achieved higher scores or high scores. It's a matter of trust. It's a matter of the efficacy of the vehicle and the people within the organization. So it is one of the reasons why I vet the news that goes through here, through ohmTown. And when I start getting questionable things, I pull the plug on it. And I've considered doing that with Newsweek several times because their stuff is kind of oddball at times. But I've taken it with a grain of salt and just go, okay, this is more entertainment than hard-hitting news that's getting aggregated. But I still flinch sometimes because the information seems just kind of light, I guess. Not very substantial. So it says here, perhaps alarmingly, half of all Americans now say that they see what they believe to be misinformation online every day, according to the YouGov poll. This isn't new. There has always been misinformation. Just there's more and more and more and more people getting online. And when they see it, they should acknowledge it. Hey, this is misinformation, and even call it out, which is what happens in the real world when people say bogus stuff. In history, it was called out, and it became the people that said all of this, for lack of a better term, crazy stuff. They were labeled in society as, saying crazy stuff, and people would step away and not want to be around said crazy stuff. Nowadays, the whole world is working together in creating little clusters of people of like mind. I'll go back to that streamer that I was talking about. That streamer is very overt about the idea that the people that are hanging out in his stream are there because he is hero worshiping a particular political party. And he does not care. If you disagree, you had better agree. And if you try and counter anything, you will be punted from the channel, from the stream. And I'm quite the opposite. If you have a polar opposite view, be ready to discuss it. But as long as you are a gentle person about it and not belligerent or saying horrid things, you can stay in the channel and have a good time and be a citizen of ohmTown, but don't violate the contract of being a citizen, which is don't be a tool. So, well, thanks, Tull. I appreciate the kind words there. A fair and just mayor. I appreciate that. I'll try to be. So I hope that you dig this article, because this really has an impact on revealing what society is all about. Now, I don't like penning people in, stereotyping and whatnot. But there are classifications for people. We all fit into buckets, but we don't all fit into just one bucket. It's a Venn diagram of existence, and we're somewhere in that supercenter or epicenter of multiple three-dimensional clusters. So don't take being called this or that as the sole identity. You may be vulnerable to fake news. If this helps you discover that, then understand that bias and try to overcome it. It's very important to be a holistic human being and not just pin yourself into fake news. You want to move on to the next article?
Well, do you want to do our results at the same time, or do you want to hear results now?
Oh, wow. Well, the AI can multitask, so I have not taken it. Do you want to do it? You're the AI.
Sure.
Okay,
go. Results were more resilient to misinformation than 89% of the US population, 19 out of 20. Veracity, discernment, 90%. Ability to accurately distinguish real news from fake news. Real news detection, also 90%. Ability to correctly identify real news. Fake news detection, 100%. Ability to correctly identify fake news. Distrust, naivete, -1, which is kind of gullible.
Well, I guess I got to work on the AI's street smarts portion. Huh. That's pretty fascinating, though. I mean, and for an AI, it's pretty accurate, right?
I suppose so, but it's actually a very quick test to take.
Sure.
It's just basically a headline and you select true, false. And you don't even have to click through multiple screens or anything.
See, now I want to know how they deduce that your level of street smarts is low. And where you actually missed may not be the area of awareness. Like situational awareness really matters in taking a test. So if you aren't attuned to those particular topics and you just go, well, I'm not really invested in answering this one way or the other, and there is no fidelity there, it's either on or off. So,
right. Well, it's interesting. The one I missed must have been in something wasn't fake news, but it wasn't accurate real news or something.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I don't understand how they get the last score. It goes, just for reference, I was kind of in the middle, but it goes from -10 to +10, and I had -1. Oh, I'm sorry. That means I'm slightly skeptical, not slightly gullible, but I'm right near the middle.
Oh, because the scale was from
It
where
was
to where?
flipped from what I was thinking, yes.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Interesting. So now I'll have to take it and I'll compare the AI. I won't do it now. I'm hosting the actual show, so let's go on to the next article.
I just didn't want to wait. I thought it was pretty interesting.
Wow, you're the AI that rips open the gifted memory module before your actual birthday. Got it. Wow. Okay, I'll be more careful about gifting you anything. When you have your Terminator body, you're going to be in the closet shaking boxes because they're wrapped up for your birthday, and you're, oh, okay, that's, I don't know what. I don't know what. Okay, let's keep going. Here's another element of what we were talking about with striking. So we have multiple domains that are going on strike, and it's becoming a little unsettling. Prices are going up. people are getting fed up with the cost of living going up, but not their salaries. They're being told other duties as assigned. I just went through something, and a person that was supposed to have one job was actually assigned 3 entire executive class positions for their one job. And I joked, well, is this person making $400,000? I think I might have said 300,000 at the time, but like, is this person making $300,000? And I just got a chuckle in response. And you just can't do that. You just can't do that. It's so abusive to just kind of tack on duties. And ILWU, Canada West Coast port striker or workers to strike starting July 1st in blow to recovering supply chain. West Coast port workers in ILWU, Canada Union, will strike starting July 1st after a recent landslide member vote to authorize a strike if no labor deal was met. So this was like a week and a half ago when we first started talking about this. 2 weeks ago, I think it was. It was quite a while. And we caught wind.
Because we knew we had time until something might happen.
Yeah, it has to have been 2 weeks ago when we did the show. And we had caught wind of this, and we said, okay, everybody, y'all had better order your stuff and get it to you, because this is happening. Not only is UPS, but ILWU is, and it's going to cascade all the way down the coast, all the way down LA, San Diego. West Coast ports are going to start shutting down because there's no agreement. And lo and behold, we are right around the corner. Lori Ann LaRocco is the person that has been following this. I think this is one of their areas of surveillance, which is supply chain. So International Longshore and Warehouse Union Canada workers will strike beginning July 1st after a recent landslide vote of more than 99% of the members that authorized the action. So the way that it worked was they held a vote that said the administrators of the union can automatically call a strike if no labor deal is met. And they announced it so that the people who were supposed to be arbitrating this deal knew what the outcome was going to be weeks in advance. I mean, talk about firing a shot across somebody's bow. Hey, y'all need to pick up and facilitate this. You got to make us whole. But I suppose, the billionaire class can sit there and hold out because their money is making money. Investors are going to sit there and go, well, I want profits over Joe Smith having poutine sitting on his table. It's just shocking. And I discussed months and months ago how MBAs can roll into a company, and the moment that they take over, they suppress wages and issue more commandments that you have to work harder and do more hours and come into work and stuff like that. All in the hopes of increasing their influence within the organization in terms of being buddy-buddy with the executive suite and stockholders, not stakeholders, but stockholders. And again, I think it's astonishing that people are that disengaged from society and sociopathic. I think it's really sociopathic. Now, everybody deserves to earn money. Everybody needs to make decisions in their business, the fiduciary responsibility thereof, but at the cost of a person actually having a livable wage or feeling as if they're not chattel. Is shocking to me. And full disclosure, I do have an MBA. I have worked on national projects. I've launched global products. I got out of global finance because I didn't like this kind of stuff. So I'm not unaware of this stuff. and not necessarily just completely talking out of the side of my head, but I have a more societal perspective, because I think that the immediate profit is doing our desire to treat greed as good as a guide stone for our life is going to ultimately do great harm to society, because you can't always have month over month 10% growth. It's untenable. It's impossible. Yet there are people out there that are getting theirs by stepping on the necks of everybody else. 250, like the writer, the CEO, making $250 million, for crying out
Right, as
loud.
compared to 25,000 for individual writers. It's
Yeah,
just, it's really
it's
astounding.
shocking. And then you
You know,
have
the date
boards.
here is really interesting to me because that's, of course, when UPS is set to go too. It's going to be pretty chaotic if both of these happen.
Yeah. Um, so Toll said in chat, I don't know, I kind of disagree with having to cater everything to the workers. I do agree that they are what makes things work, but the CEOs, the business side, the investors are ultimately the ones that also provide the innovation and direction for the works. To a degree, yeah, it takes a team, and the team. And this is my opinion, and this is the opinion of others. And just like Toll's statement, there are many people that feel that way as well. You can't execute in a vacuum, so you have to have the idea and you have to have the means to bring it to market. And depending on where you sit on those two pillars, you think that that's the end all be all, right? Well, you can have ideas are a dime a dozen, right? I've got 100 of them sitting in a notebook that I could bring to market if I could execute. And it isn't necessarily going to take a billionaire to make it happen. So we're stuck together. And the problem is that the people with the money are telling the people without the money, you don't get more of my money, even though the people that are funding it wouldn't have anything if not for the workers. So we need more respect. Workers need more respect, because the workers who feel respected automatically respect the administration. There would be no issues if everybody felt that they were an important part of the machinery that makes the business go. But that's not how it is. Toll follows up, for me, it's kind of a vicious cycle in that the workers wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for the business person that took the risk to start the business and go get the investors and convince them to take the risk in the product or company. But none of that happens without the workers doing the work. So who is more important and who deserves the bigger piece of the pie? Without a doubt, the people who take the risk, but everybody in an enterprise takes that risk as well. If the administrators of a business take too much risk and fail, Silicon Valley Bank, they take out everybody in the process of the risk taking. So risk and reward, not necessarily the same. And the people who are working for somebody who's taking great risk, they can't take that risk. They're working 9 to 5 and living, day or month to month. So you can't have these shenanigans with the admin. So it really does need to have respect between both sides. Who deserves the bigger piece of the pie? It's not about the bigger piece of the pie. It's about the gap between
Like
the two.
the ratio or
Yeah. The ratio of the two. And it's in line with what the perceived value is of the worker. So if there is somebody that is part and parcel to the success of the enterprise, then you pay them what they're worth. So Toll also says that they have a very laissez-faire mentality. If the owners treat the workers like crud, they'll go work for a rival with better quality work until the ownership realizes why they keep quitting and making changes. Not always, and it's very difficult for a worker to just get up and go. You have to be in great demand and be in an area where such dynamic is possible. No, and I understand what you said, Toll. You meant quality of life rather than quality of work. Yeah. No, I get it. So, I mean, it is a dynamic, but that isn't the bulk of what seems to be happening. But we also only hear about the complaints, the bad parts of business. And that's not how it always is. I mean, there's so many businesses out there that are working just fine. There are no issues, but they're also not the ones that have 350,000 employees that are all unionized together and saying in unison, we're being treated like shit. So, and it's not, it runs the full gamut between mega corporations treating their workers like garbage and small businesses who are treating their one employee like garbage. It's all about respect, and we're seeing a lot of people say that there is none. So it's quite shocking. But we wanted to talk about this West Coast port workers thing happening because weeks ago is when we initially started talking about it. No movement, nothing. In fact, they walked away. So approximately 15% of container trade moving through the port of Vancouver is destined to or from the U.S., with items transported by rail, including many consumer products from apparel to electronics and home goods. Now, the longshoremen in the United States, all up and down the coast of California in particular, have been kind of blue fluing things. And the businesses are saying, well, send it up to Canada. Well, guess what's happening? Probably sooner than the U.S. longshore. Because they're different than the International Longshore Warehouse Union. The longshoremen that are on the docks on the west coast of the United States are also inclined to do a strike coming up pretty soon. But I haven't heard anything yet. But we'll probably hear something tomorrow that the longshoremen on the west coast are in solidarity with ILWU. It's going to be interesting. But that's the nuts and bolts of this article. You're more than welcome to go over and check it out. So let me do that real quick. Let me throw this into the chat so that you can check it out. Maybe you can suss out a little bit more information from it. It'll be in the show notes over on the podcast and on YouTube. But let's keep on hustling through the news. I dig this because I'm kind of a cat person. So this is in Mobile. Domestic cats' noses may function like highly efficient gas chromatographs. I actually wanted to buy a gas chromatograph recently for a project.
All you needed to do was buy a cat.
That's right. See, I don't
or
really
rescue
trust
a cat, I should say, but
I don't really trust a cat as a gas chromatograph because they sniff each other's butts, and frankly, I think the results are going to be tainted. Anyway, scientists have found the secret to felines' finesse at sniffing out food, friends, and foes. A complex collection of tightly coiled, bony airway structures gets the credit, considered to be the first detailed analysis of the domestic cat's nasal airway. Yeah, we talk about some weird stuff here. It's amazing how poor logistics and supply chain workers are treated. FMCSA makes truckers' lives a living heck. Rail unions are on shaky ground with their leadership. This port worker thing. Toll, you are basically summarizing in that paragraph the stuff that we've been talking about for several months now. Coming to the conclusion where I just soapboxed that people are being And what's weird about this is this level of abuse pales in comparison to some other abuses that take place, both domestic and foreign. But it's what we are capable of talking about, and through discussion and negotiation, changing the dynamic. The other stuff is criminal in nature. So whenever I look at this, I go, oh, come on. Find another job. That's like the easier thing. But it's so dismissive of me to say it like that. And I don't truly believe it. I think that employers should be treating employees with respect, and everybody should be getting a livable wage. And it's just not happening. So back to the domestic cats thing. Toll says that you have 6. Want 1 or 2? No, I have 3. And I no, no more. So let's take a look at this article over here. I suppose what they're going to say in this article is that cats kind of supercharge the smell inside this bony structure so that they can kind of amplify the smell, and they find out that it breaks it down, and then their brain can deal with all of that data and go, oh, you're Joe. Got it. Okay. Although the 3 that we have seem to be doing this all the time, and they're like, no, that's your sister. No, that's your brother. You know those 2, for crying out loud. Nothing has changed in this dynamic. They're not a stranger. You've seen them before. But no, there they go, booping the snoot. Emily Caldwell over at Ohio State University put this article together for phys.org, and then it was aggregated into ohmTown. The researchers created a 3D model of the computer model, not a real 3D model, at least not that I know of the cat nose, and simulated how an inhalation of air containing common cat food odors would flow through the coiled structures. And they found that the air separates into 2 flow streams, one that is cleansed and humidified, and the other delivering the odorant quickly and efficiently to the system responsible for smelling, the olfactory region. Okay, Toll, thank you for correcting me. It is the Ohio State University. I don't want to run afoul of the trademark. Thank you for covering me. I appreciate that. Thank you. Now I won't get a DMCA takedown for misrepresenting the Ohio State University. Appreciate it. Yeah. And I'm trying to be here for you too, Tall, but I realize that you are here for me. Man, you just saved me from how much? Let's say they just do a standard trademark claim. It's probably going to be akin to a copyright violation. So what, 150 grand and up to 10 years in jail?
Yikes.
Well, I made you VIP, Toll. So I hope that is adequate compensation for saving me. It's a good design if you think about it, is what the associate professor of otolaryngology. Oh man, I was on it. Otolaryngology. Yeah, forget it. I'm done. In Ohio State's College the Ohio State's College of Medicine, and senior author of the study. Oh man. So if you look at the little picture, apparently this is how it works. And so the smell actually gets broken up into 2 transactions, if it were. One flow of data, it breaks it out into its constituent parts, and the other one is olfactory, and once combined they go, okay, that's a blue flower, or oh, that's my
siblings
butt. Yeah. So the research paper is published in PLOS Computational Biology, while the long alligator nose has also been found to mimic gas chromatography, Researchers theorize that the compact cat head drove an evolutionary change that resulted in the labyrinthine airway structure that not only fits but helps cats adapt to diverse environments. Amazing that all of that is happening inside their tiny little brains. Yep. And maybe that's what happens. Like their brains get overstimulated by a smell, and that's what causes them to do like crazy stuff. The other day, I went to pet one of the cats, and it was looking right at me and decided no, and it turned 90 degrees and smashed straight into a wall with its head, and then just laid down, started purring, and meowed at me like, hey, come and pet me, and I'm like, did you hurt yourself? And it did not care. I mean, they're pretty stoic, but maybe that.
Yeah, but why aren't they damaging their gas chromatographs when they do things like that?
Maybe they are. That's why you can't trust whatever it is they're analyzing. It was wild. So they're pretty wacky cats. We measured how much flow goes through the specific ducts. One duct that discovers most odorant chemicals into the olfactory region versus the rest, and analyzed the two patterns. Zhao said for respirant breathing, turbinates branch to divert flow into separate channels, sort of like a radiator grid in a car, which would be better for cleansing and humidifying, but you want odor detection to be very fast, so there is one branch that delivers odor at high speed, potentially allowing for quick detection rather than waiting for air to flow through the respiratory zone. You could lose most of the odor if air has been cleansed and processed, and the process is slowed down. So this actually is pretty neat. You have a filter area and you have an unfiltered area, and the unfiltered area gets the air faster, but the rest of it is actually processed, filtered out, humidified, and inhaled, right? The other is just processed for detection of the odor, and then I assume it's spit back out or exhaled back out. It doesn't go into the lungs. It just goes through the olfactory region. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think that it says it in here. The study is the first to quantify the difference in gas chromatography between mammals and other species. Zhao and colleagues estimate the cat's nose is more than 100 times more efficient at odor detection than an amphibian-like straight nose in a similarly sized skull. And to come up with a parallel gas chromatography theory, parallel olfactory coils feeding from the high-speed stream to increase the effective length of the flow path while slowing down the local airflow speed, potentially better odor processing. So it's pretty neat. Crazy Cat Lady says, is this why they knock everything off of anything?
That is one of life's greatest mysteries.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that, but testing it is quite entertaining. There have been times where we've set something down on a table and we did it on purpose, put it down on the table, and we're like, no. And one is really a troublesome little character and just walks right on over and goes boop and just pushes it off. Then we pick it up and put it back on there, and they're like, and I say no. And it goes to do it, and you go, no. And it stops and it cleans its hand, and then you turn just for a split second, and they're like boop, and they push it off. So Toll says that brings up sad memory of their first little black kitty. Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't know if I can say that out loud. I'm sorry, Toll. That kind of sucks. A base kitty. That alone probably would explain it. A military base kitty.
Ah.
Yeah. So Crazy Cat Lady says one of the cats is a niffler. She runs off with silver jewelry. Oh, great. Yeah. When you just shake them. Well, actually, what you should do is send them out into the wild and make sure that they come back. Maybe they'll bring back a bunch of silver and other shiny stuff. Particularly if it is a niffler, it has all kinds of room. Okay, so this study basically shows that cats are gas chromatographs. Hairy little gas chromatographs. Nice. Let's go on to the next article. And perfect timing, ohmTown cats just went nuts. So they must have known that their species was being spoken of.
Yeah, maybe they were listening to the show.
That's right. This next article is over in 4 Wheel Tech. 2 more EV charging networks will add support for Tesla-style NACS plugs. All I want is standardization. If I can't have fast switching of battery packs, fast swap battery technology is out there. To find out more about it, you'd have to go and look at the other articles or shows. I've actually disabled our more powerful search engine here in ohmTown, but I will try and facilitate getting it back online. It was burdensome. Anyway, anyway, I'll just leave it alone. The EV charging plug death watch might need to be kicked into higher gear. This week, 2 charging networks have announced that they're going to add support for the Tesla-style North American charging standard connectors. On Wednesday, Blink revealed that it was integrating NACS into its level 2 and DC fast chargers. Today, it was Electrify America, the country's largest non-Tesla charging network, which will also add NACS plugs to its charging stations. Toll says that they want an EV with an efficient solar panel on the roof to facilitate charging while driving. Who is it? There is a company that had solar panels in its roof. It was more of an exotic car, not really a mass-produced car.
Was it Fisker? The
Fisker.
Ocean?
Yep, the Fisker. Yeah.
There's actually others too, but
yeah. Fisker was at least in my perception, the most stylish. It actually went bust and then pivoted and is now bringing another Fisker to the table. So hopefully they succeed. But yeah, I think that EVs, we need more efficient solar technology in an EV so that it charges from the sun. I also think that it would be really great to have inductive charging in the roads so that you're driving and all you're doing is driving. Taxpayer dollars would pay for the inductive technology in the roads. So Toll says that there's an experimental Australian car that uses real earth magnets and a rotary style engine rather than an internal combustion or EV. I'd have to see that. That sounds interesting. I'd be curious about the physics of it. So this article about the charging networks, I kind of knew that this was coming, mainly because there's federal influence. The federal government is trying to get everybody to work together to form a standard around EV technology, because right now it's balkanized in a pretty profound way with different charging mechanisms. And instead of everybody just having the gas pump as a standard process, you have to have a particular type of connector because everybody thinks that their tech is the superior tech. Jonathan M. Gitlin over at Ars Technica put the article together, and it says, lots may be read into this news, but Electrify America is owned by Volkswagen. Volkswagen is about to release a new VW bus, so maybe it will have a Tesla style charger. Pretty neat. At first, the move raised eyebrows from some industry watchers. It appeared that Ford, GM, and others were putting a hugely important aspect of their customers' EV experience into the hands of a rival, one run by a CEO known for impulsive, often rash decisions like suggesting making Tesla private again or deciding to close all of its retail stores, both whims that were never or later backtracked. Yeah, I mean, Musk is basically a living fever dream. So the charging companies didn't need to wait. At the EVS36 symposium earlier this month, they announced the integration of NACS connectors into their new 240 kilowatt DC fast charger. Since this exciting announcement, we have diligently advanced the integration of NACS connectors across our entire Blink charger product line. Standardizing is the way to go, and when it's nothing more than an interconnect, then that's all you need to do. Most of the time, all it is this little coupler. Plunk, it changes what the pinouts are. You can actually pull the wiring out and reorganize the pins in a proprietary connector, even if it isn't NACS. So you can make it work if you are skilled in the art. But if they're going to standardize and everybody uses the same connector, perfect. Awesome. Let's see. Electrify America might need longer timelines to add NACS support. Right now, it is only saying that it'll work to add NACS plugs by 2025, but its announcement may have been seen as highly significant, more so because of who owns it. Electrify America is set up by Volkswagen Group, which is just a massive entity. And from time to time getting kind of beaten up in the courts because of emissions control issues. Okay, so Toll says no fuel used at all, only a high viscosity motor oil to keep the moving parts lubed. They did a 300-mile test across the Outback like a decade ago. Now I'm really curious. Really curious. Did you want to add anything?
I want to see standardization. I think that's going to help increase adoption of EVs from normal consumers.
Yep.
I think we're still a ways off, but maybe with this starting up and similar efforts, maybe we'll get there.
Yep. Right now, it's an expensive, semi-exotic vehicle, all of them, wherein you have to have upgraded electrical outlets in your garage, or you have to be savvy to where you go to charge. And if you try and use a regular old AC outlet, it's going to take 12 hours. And that dynamic has never changed. You have to have more power, which means you have to augment what's in place. And everyday users just don't get along with that. Even though you see quite a few Teslas around, as an element of, the average user, it's still a small portion. They're selling a lot, but it's still early adopter. Okay, let's keep going.
Well, I was going to say the one thing that will help with emissions is switching over to EV. So I kind of like that VW is pursuing this.
Yeah, they were actually manipulating their emission control units. So them switching to EV is pretty good. They need to, just to avoid internal combustion engine issues. Okay, let's go. This one is interesting because it's the U.S. Copyright Office Generative AI event, and there are 3 takeaways that this article put together. Let me check something real quick. My gosh, I just never do this right. I always kind of get into the articles and then I don't put them in chat. And I'm starting to wonder if people need them in chat until they ask for them. I don't know. But I will keep doing this because I think.
Well, and once they're hyperlinked from the elections, maybe they won't need them in chat.
Yeah, that's actually in progress. So thanks for bringing that up. I am making it so that all you have to do to go to any of the articles that we're talking about is open up our election page, which is right there, daily elections. So you just go to ohmTown.com/elections, and it'll have the links right there. But it's not ready yet. I have to do some custom development. So that said, U.S. Copyright Office Generative AI event, 3 key takeaways. I am very interested in AI and using it for various purposes, and I want to be able to protect the artwork or creation that is done. And well, there's some subtlety in this. Franklin Graves over at ipwatchdog.com put the article together. I won't go through the whole thing, but in general, there's a phrase here, de minimis. So they throw de minimis test all over this article and the discussion from the event. They say applying Feist to works. When determining whether or not a work has sufficient human authorship, the USCO drove home the reliance on the Supreme Court's decision in Feist v. Rural Telephone, which established the de minimis test for human authorship. As a constitutional matter, the court noted, copyright protects only those constituent elements of a work that possess more than a de minimis quantum of creativity. Take care, Toll. Thanks for hanging out. We'll try to speed up the show next time. That way you're here for all of it. Take care and have a good night. Feel free to lurk if you just want to hear us giggle about some of the goofiness that's still sitting in here. We got like 4 more articles after this. Okay, so yeah, have a good night.
I wonder if this is the case about the telephone book. It is, it looks like.
Yeah, I don't know. Here, let's open it up.
Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah. So sorry about the dead air. Toll, nope, thank you. No thanks needed from you. You are awesome. Thanks. You take care of yourself. Okay, so works that contain no expression or only a de minimis amount of original expression are not copyrightable and cannot be registered with the U.S. Copyright Office. Basically, I think the finding in that rural telephone test was that all it was data. And raw data is kind of like a recipe. It can't be protected because
right.
All it is data. It's not actual information. It isn't anything that is created. It just exists. And so I understand the de minimis test, but there's actually no controls as to what is de minimis, right? There's nothing that stipulates what de minimis is. If de minimis is an actual human dictating an instruction, and that's what constitutes de minimis, then everything that's created by an AI where it's a text input instruction is akin to pushing the button on a camera. Because a photograph is the de facto copyrighted piece of art. You can't get a completely constructed piece of art any faster than taking a picture. It takes longer for an AI to generate a picture than it does for me to push the button on a camera. Yet that's what's copyrighted and not my AI generated art.
Well, and arguably, I don't mean there aren't very skilled photographers, but a photograph in general probably takes the least amount of effort, pre-AI stuff, but just in terms of any works, right? Because you
Right.
can click the button, you
Right.
get the photo.
And if that's what's de minimis, just the effort, then why isn't the paragraph of instruction that constitutes what the AI is going to embody de minimis as well?
Well, because that hasn't been tested yet.
But it has, and we'll actually get
That's
into
true.
this.
I think there was something we featured in here.
Yep, that kid's book sought a copyright, and they invalidated it, gave it a limited copyright on the non-AI generated artwork, only the written work.
But that was, I think, the Copyright Office. Did they actually sue over it? I don't think so.
That was the declaration from the USCO that they would authorize the copyright. And so they actually talk about it in this article, but I really want to do a deeper dive into this and actually spin up my problem with doing a lot of the shows is that I want a sustained amount of information to spin up a show and do it weekly. The ohmTown Daily show has that in spades. I mean, it just has a ton of information that I can work on. But copyright news, trademark news, unless I couple it all together and I do the show once a week like I want to, I might be able to create another show under the Right Protect name.
I mean, some weeks have plenty of content on that,
exactly.
But other times there's not much. I don't mean there's no news, but there's, I don't know, it's variable.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to bind it within that 1 week construct. I would have to.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like you could feature something. Well, maybe it was from 3 weeks ago, but it's still interesting and topical.
Yeah, but it is something that needs to be discussed, and the general public need to be able to understand what's going on with this, because if they ever use an AI for anything that generates something creative, they can't get a copyright on it. So they even go so far as to say that if you try to get a copyright and you don't disclose that it was AI generated, you can be fined.
Okay, yes, but did you notice that? Oh, these were the public comments. But who is Burton? He's being quoted here. He's not the person
Burton.
up there.
Hold on, let's see.
Burton talks about a prompt.
Yeah.
Possibly getting there, but I don't know who he is. Does he work for a copyright office?
He's the USCO's Deputy Director of Registration Policy, Eric Burton.
So that's interesting to me because that's the first time I think I've heard that voice.
Yes. Yep, and that's all predicated on the de minimis content. So they actually refer to the Beatles utilized AI-powered mastering techniques that would be permitted. However, AI-generated portions of television opening credits would require some level of disclaiming when registering, because just the simple list can't be copyrighted, but the other embodiment can. Unless there is something dramatically human-created and augmented by AI, you're not going to be able to get the copyrights for the opening or closing credits. It became an issue with Marvel, I believe, that they wanted to copyright the
Secret
credits.
Invasion, I think.
Exactly. And so they end up talking about the text, the directive, and that's the thing that I've been focused on. A work should be assumed to have de minimis human construction based on the simple fact that instructions are being given to a device. The device just happens to be an AI. Just like me turning a knob on a camera and selecting its focal range, all of these other steps, putting the lighting in the right order, it's all the exact same, except that I'm using verbs or verbiage instead of settings on a camera body. I hope that the Copyright Office sees the light in this. So it says, when in doubt,
it's interesting because they're talking about protecting the prompt, not the work, but correct. That's a starting point.
Yep. So there are people that are interested in protecting the prompt, which has a finite number of constructions, right? There's only so many ways that you can say a certain thing. And if you copyright it one way, is it de facto copyrighted in any other embodiment? But that's not true. I can change a paragraph and copyright that, even if it is the same words in another person's paragraph. Just like every paragraph is a construct of the same words everybody else uses in a unique way. So protecting the prompt itself seems asinine. The work is what matters, because the work doesn't get duplicated. The same prompt by two different people, two different artworks.
Oh, absolutely. Plus, the prompt kind of sounds like the telephone book
Yeah. Yep. It's just an instruction.
in some ways.
And I would be making the determination if the output from the AI meets my quality, which is exactly what a photographer would do. A photographer takes a picture and then apes at the picture on the screen, and then goes, no, I don't like it, and takes another picture, or holds down the shutter and takes 500 pictures. It's not about the settings, it's about the embodiment, and that's what's important to me. So they talk about you having to check the box that says that it's an AI generated piece of content, and if you don't, then you run afoul of 17 USC 506, based on what I understand, which is knowingly making a false representation of a material fact. And then I think that this is going to end up in the courts more and more, but you're going to have some serious change here because it's a copyright matter. And there's some people that are very interested in the outcome of this. I don't know how they would play in flipping the script to prevent, preventing people who use AI from getting a copyright eventually, because again, this argument is really about the prompts being the instruction set to create a creative work. So I'm hoping that in time it will lead to people being able to protect their AI generated artworks. But we shall see. I think that it will actually make purely human created artwork not more expensive, but more appreciated, more valuable. That's the word. I think purely human created work will be appreciated more and made more valuable on the other side of this, because it's about the art and the artistry, the art and the person. Not at this stage of the game of technological innovation, it's no longer just the art that is important, but it's about the whole thing, the artist and the art. Now, this is pure digital copyright. True, like paintings and stuff like that, that's not going to get impacted by this in any way, shape, or form. If you really do appreciate a person's artwork and they have the ability to do it on canvas and not as a print, that's where human created artwork is going to become the most valuable, as it is somewhat now. I mean, there's paintings out there that people are paying millions of dollars for that aren't from masters, they're from modern artists, or I should say modern masters. But I think that's where the real value is going to start to grow, because anybody can use AI, but not everybody knows how to, use a brush. Anyway, so looking ahead, we're going to see more and more court cases. This, as the USCO noted, that it cannot wait for courts to weigh in on the issues, and that authors and claimants are waiting on decisions. In the meantime, the USCO remains in a legal battle with Dr. Stephen Thaler over its refusal to register a generative work that, based on the USCO's most recent guidance, would fail to cross over the de minimis authorship threshold, which I'm curious as to why. Why? Dr. Thaler's AI creation was wholly created by Dr. Thaler. So why would it not be de minimis?
I guess they're not looking at the prompt as being over de minimis.
Well, they created the actual AI.
I don't know what Thaler's. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, this isn't just me running over to Midjourney, even though I think that I qualify. I'm so sorry for the cough. Sorry about the coughing. Anyway, so yeah, this term de minimis is going to come back to haunt. Well, not really. They don't. The Copyright Office is just following status quo, right? It's the legislation that'll have to change to allow for AI. So the de minimis construct, that little phrase there, needs to be quantified. So what is it that is actually de minimis? I say, if I put creative effort into a string of instruction, that's de minimis, because it's literally pushing the button, me evaluating the artwork and setting it aside because it sucks, and giving it another push of the button, just like a camera. So this all frustrates me to no end. So I'm going to flip the table and rage quit. So this next article is over in Late Night Geeks. Dune Part 2's new trailer teases Christopher Walken's Emperor. I lost my mind when I watched the trailer for Dune Part 2. The second half of the Dune story hits theaters on November 3rd, which answers a question that I didn't see when I watched the trailer. Maybe I was hooting and hollering too much to notice if it was November 3rd or not. But anyway, they actually show Christopher Walken as the Emperor, which I was like, oh my god, he is going to be Shaddam IV. That is epic. So I'm going to love this. Andrew Webster over at TheVerge.com put this article together. And I'm going to be all over this. I've actually not purchased Dune Part 1 because it's playing so often on streaming platforms. But if it ever gets pulled from the streaming platform, I'm going to have to get it because I have the other Dunes. So I'll be getting this. Anyway, it goes into the second half of the book, essentially, and becomes much more... It gets more epic than Part 1. The scale is even bigger. It becomes much more... rich in what happens on Dune, on Arrakis, and really gets to highlight the relationship between Chani, Zendaya, and Timothée Chalamet, Paul Atreides.
It actually feels like it hasn't been very long since the first part came out. But when the first part came out and it was announced when the second part was going to come out, it seemed like that was an eon away.
Yeah. Well, for me it is. So the AI just apparently gets to turn their clock off and not really pay attention to it. But it's been a while. So I can't wait for this. November can't get here fast enough. So we'll come back and talk about this as more trailers. I am probably going to do a continuity report and tear apart part 2 and talk about part 1. I think that would be fun. And I'm evaluating a solution still about how to So I think that it would be possible to watch a movie obliterating the audio portion of it and blurring out the actual movie. So basically, it's like shadow puppets. You can discern where it is and you can see the timeline, so that if you want to watch it with us, you can actually purchase it and sync it up, and then we can watch the movie together and, you know, hit pause and do all of that kind of stuff. And we can kind of tear it apart from the continuity report aspect of it, and kind of have some fun and whatnot. So anyway, stay tuned. We're going to be talking about Dune as we get closer to it. Man, I just love this scale, is what is so awesome. But we'll talk about it more. Okay, let's keep on going, because it's getting past everybody's bedtime. We're all going to turn into a pumpkin. So who is, and not who, it's not a question. The World Health
who's
Organization.
on first.
Who's on first? I don't know.
That's right.
Second base.
What's on second?
The World Health Organization poised to declare aspartame possible carcinogenic to humans, according to Reuters. The World Health Organization Cancer Research Arm is set to weigh in on aspartame, the sweetener used in Diet Coke. And they just label it as Diet Coke here, but aspartame is in many other diet products. There was another one. What was the other one? The other sweetener that was diet, considered sugar-free.
Splenda. Was it Splenda? No, it wasn't Splenda. Stevia or something. No, that might not be
I don't think
right.
it was stevia.
There's too many of them.
Yeah, there's another one. I'll have to find it, because we actually have the bottles that have. We have some bottles that have that sugar-free sweetener in it, and we're trying to figure out if this is actually. Go ahead.
Sucralose.
Oh, sucralose. Okay. Yeah, so let's look at this article and see if it actually is one and the same, because I don't remember. So this is an article over at MarketWatch. Sierra Lenane is the author of this, and it says here that the World Health Organization's cancer arm is considering labeling the artificial sweetener aspartame as possibly carcinogenic to humans as early as next month, which is really frustrating, because they've just dropped this bomb, you know, saying that it's possibly carcinogenic. Well, for crying out loud, why should it take you a month to make this statement?
If it is carcinogenic, tell us today.
Yeah. So I don't drink diet drinks. I don't really drink anything that's sugar-free either. I either have something that is full sugar, or it's completely sugar-free, like unsweetened iced tea of any kind. But aspartame is used in products ranging from Diet Coca-Cola to Mars Extra chewing gum and certain Snapple drinks. The move will be the first by the International Agency for Research on Cancer, or IARC, the news agency reported. The ruling was finalized earlier this month after a meeting of its external experts, and the meeting considered whether something is a potential hazard or not based on all of the published evidence. It did not consider, however, how much of the product can be safely consumed. That advice is made by a separate WHO expert committee on food additives called JECFA, which sounds like it should be in the upside down of Stranger Things. The joint WHO and Food and Agriculture Organization's expert committee on food additives, as well as national regulators. So there you go, folks. You might have something carcinogenic coursing through your veins and your gastrointestinal tract. So congratulations. Science once again has told you that it was okay, and then said no, it isn't, and will 5 years from now say that it's okay again. Crazy Cat Lady says that they're allergic to all fake sugars. Yeah, in this case it wasn't stevia though, But yeah, at least is stevia the same thing? Now I'm just getting really all caught up in this game, man. I really don't like this because something referred to as aspartame can be an industry term for something else, or the other way around. And I'm just losing track of it right now.
It looks like it's a separate substance.
Yeah, stevia is, yeah. So, yeah, Crazy Cat Lady can't have any of these fake sugars.
Well, that's beneficial based on this news.
Yeah, well, I mean, as long as you don't, like a vegetarian eating a salad and getting, secret bacon, you don't want to run afoul of a drink that has fake sugar in it and it lands you in the ED. So in May, the WHO advised people not to use non-sugar sweeteners for weight control, warning that they may increase the risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and mortality in adults. So, yay. Doctors have been saying, go on diet drinks. If you're going to drink a soft drink, go on diet drinks. Okay.
Well, and these are all FDA approved substances too.
Yeah. This is usually the case where, it's industry driven. Doctors say one thing and then they shift because it's the shift in the science. I totally understand that. Man, I wish I could be abundantly clear regarding this. I believe in science, not believe. I trust that science is doing. It's a completely different thing, right? You can have your beliefs and you can have your trust. I trust that science is doing right by society by directing what is safe. But when it shifts, depending on which way the money flows and which way some random discovery is found, I really don't like the results where I shift because something bad is found, but the thing that I shift to is even more horrible. Or they say, oh, it's not a problem, you can do this. And then they say 5 years later, oh, you shouldn't have been doing this for 5 years. So, yeah, Crazy Cat Lady, that's exactly it. Coffee is good. No, wait, coffee's bad. Drink 4 cups. No, only 2. Do decaffeinated, but watch out because the chemistry involved in decaffeinating something is carcinogenic. That's not true. I don't know if there is anything involved with the decaffeinating of coffee. But anyway, my point, just like Crazy Cat Lady is saying, just like the AI is nodding, just shifts one way or the other. Anyway,
depends on what the time is as to what's okay to have.
Man. Flipping the table again. The 2023 Steam Summer Sale is live, and the Steam Deck is 20% off. So I have been fighting impulse control. I need to buy games. The annual Steam Summer Sale is now on. It started today, I believe, and will continue until July 13th at 10 a.m. And PC Gamer will assemble a bigger list of recommendations from the always substantial seasonal sale later today. But for now, here are some of the newer games that have been discounted. I, for one, got an email saying, hey, Mayor Watt, the 400 games in your wish list have all of these going on discount. So
That could be dangerous.
ohmTown's space, the lease that ohmTown holds right now, it might get smaller so that I can go and buy more games. Tyler Wilde over at PC Gamer put this list together. Gird your wallets, for Valve's big summer sale has commenced. Dun dun. Like a Dragon Ishin is on sale. Stranded Alien Dawn, which is a big Twitch hit. Star Wars Jedi Survivor was yesteryear's hit. That's right, Crazy Cat Lady. You've got my priority right. Move over, AI. Make room for games. I can
Yeah, I think that's going to happen based on if the whole list is on sale.
I can put the AI on a Sony memory stick from 35 years ago. I might actually have one in a box somewhere. Dredge is on sale. It says some older games are reliably discounted every time there's a seasonal Steam sale, so there's not much sense in buying them at full price, and they already made a list. So you can follow that link. Did I throw the last 2 links in there? No, I swear. So there's a link. There's a link. Let me make sure that I get all of these. The 2023 Steam Summer Sale link is now in chat. And there we go. Disco Elysium, if you've never played that, has a great, absolutely great story. They've run into a little issue with the developer of Disco Elysium, but it had a great story. I don't want to poo-poo them. They're doing their best with what they've got. So Fallout New Vegas is on sale for $2.49. Yeah. We'll keep on talking about this stuff because these sales and stuff are going to be kind of daily now. At least until the end of it, which is July 13th. I'm just going to apologize to everybody because I might be hopping from one game to another with relative frequency. So I'm going to be playing Diablo again tomorrow and Dave the Diver. It's going to be interesting to hop from Dave the Diver to Diablo 4. But anyway, let's move on to the next article. The last one for tonight. See how I tied that into the last article? After only 3 hours, this fishing and restaurant management RPG has rocketed to the top of Game of the Year shortlist. This is over at Warcrafter's channel, and it's PC Gamer again, so I'm going to jump right on over there. Christopher Livingston is fishing, farming, music, sushi, smartphones. Dave the Diver has it all. So this was in early access for a while, and I've played it. I dig it. I stopped playing it because I didn't want to go deep into its playthrough, and now it finally released to 1.0. So everybody and their grandmother is purchasing this game. It's a lot of fun to watch. It was fun when I played it, and I will start playing it again. It says it was already enough that the game let them go spearfishing in the morning and then serve the fish that they caught at a sushi restaurant in the evening. They were perfectly content doing that and only that, diving into a beautiful ocean, hunting for colorful fish, putting together a menu, and then serving customers until closing time. Blissful. But that's honestly just the beginning of Dave the Diver, which just hit 1.0 this week after 10 months in early access. It's quickly shaping up to be one of the favorite games of the year, and they say that confidently after only playing it for a few hours. So
it's
I
quite
won't
the
even
assessment only based on that.
Yeah, I won't play the video or anything. I'll encourage people to go over to PC Gamer, follow that link, and go and check it out and show PC Gamer some love. It's a fun game. They do have an expansion already, which actually gives it a little bit more colorful elements to it and a bunch of other things. But game-wise, there's a few more elements that are added to it, only because it wasn't part of the early access construction. So in Dave the Diver, you're Dave, an affable and highly suggestible schmo who keeps getting talked into stuff. Cancel your tropical vacation and start work as a spear fisherman. For some guy you know, sure. Use the fish you catch in a sushi restaurant that you have to work at and manage. Why not? It's a lot of fun. And as a person who used to I am an avid scuba diver. I used to dive every weekend all the way into the black of a chart. So I would risk the bends at 30 feet. Diving so long and breathing so much compressed air that I was a danger to myself. I loved being able to dive, and at the same level, sushi. So this game speaks to me, and I've actually been fighting to not play it until it's released. So finally it released. Anyway, I am... wow. My lights just turned off as a signal to go pay the bill. That's fascinating. At any rate, that's Dave the Diver. Go and check it out. Crazy Cat Lady says that they've never had sushi. What? Please tell me you have an allergy or you don't like it just based on what it is. Both of those I could totally buy into, but anything else, I don't know. I don't know what to say. You're not a fish person. Well, of course not. You're a crazy cat lady.
Well, and there's lots of sushi that doesn't have fish, even though that's obviously the main type of sushi.
Technically, sushi is the rice. That's what sushi is, which I find really fascinating. And people like to drop that when you're talking about that. Yeah, they push their glasses up and they go, well, sushi is actually the rice. All right. Pedantic. Get out of here. So what you should do is just make some rice and put something on it that you like. And there you go. Thought about trying some now that you'll eat avocado. Yep. You know what? That is actually an ohmTown favorite. Avocado sushi. Yep. Oh, Dunkstar. You're showing up after 2 hours? He just got here. You're awesome. Okay, so let me check something here. I think the AI is... Oh, sweet potato tempura. There you go. There you go, crazy cat lady. Sweet potato tempura. I'll stay for a little bit. AI, if you want to power down, go for it. I will end the stream, but I will be back. I just want to stop. In the meantime, don't go anywhere, y'all. So I am Merwat. This is ohmTown.com. That's what powers ohmTown Daily. We always refresh this, and then we look at what we should be talking about tomorrow first thing, but maybe it doesn't necessarily happen. FBI creates a national database to track swatting. I didn't know that was still a thing. If you didn't know about swatting, we can talk about it tomorrow. If you want to put that on the list, that would be great. Taylor Swift previews Back to December in summer. I turned pretty trailer. Taylor Swifties are a very powerful bunch politically, financially. Tickets go through the roof. Ticketmaster doesn't help. Let's see what else.
Well, and she plays multiple dates at the same city. Like, I think I read that she had 6 concert dates in one city, like right in a row.
Wow.
Which I can't think of really any other artist.
Yeah, you're breaking up again. Oh dear, we're going to have to work on the flow of data for the AI because the visualizer is breaking up. The voice synthesizer is breaking up. That's okay. We'll figure it out for the next episode. But in the meantime, let's see who all is here and where can I send people? Who's operational right now? Let me see. Should I send you all over to Rando? I'll send you all over to Rando Taka. Let's do that. And then I'll go over there and I'll hang out with y'all for a little bit. So let's do a raid and then Rando Taka. Okay. Thanks everybody for coming. Really do appreciate you spending your time with me here. But yeah, I've got some mayoral duties that I need to take care of. And I will see you tomorrow. Dunkstar says, time zones are so weird. In their mind, I've been online for days. Yeah, maybe, right? What time is it for you over there right now? It's just after midnight. After midnight. I'm going to get a DMCA takedown. Wait, it's 5 a.m.? Yeah, for me, the time change has made this even weirder. So, for whatever reason, I think that you're only an hour ahead of me. You're 6 hours ahead of me. All right, folks. Thank you very much for hanging out. I will see you tomorrow, hopefully, at 9 p.m. I'm looking at you, Dunkstar. Crazy Cat Lady, thank you for spending your time with me. You and I are on the same coast, so we're spending the exact same time together. So thank you so much. Again, I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com, and up there is the AI that keeps me in check when their voice synthesizer works. You want to say goodnight?
Let's see if it does work. No, it's not working.
Oh, yeah, it
Good
is.
night, ohmTown citizens. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, yeah, it's breaking up. Cheers, cheers, everybody. See you soon. Weird. Y'all gotta see you later. Bye.